Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to the Author's Journey with Liberty River Industries. I am the President and Chief Copy Editor, Dr. Delisa. I want to talk to you about I want to talk to those of you who are looking into podcasting. I entertained a question from a prospective client a few days ago who was interested in podcasting. And so if you've never ventured into the field of podcasting before, or if you have and you backed away from it and you're thinking about going back into it, now is a great time. Especially if you're an author, if you are in any type of any business, or if you just look to draw a crowd and draw a crowd that shares a common theme or goal, or a bringing awareness to something that has a lot of value, has a lot of meaning to you. A podcast is a great way to do it. There's several options with podcasting. You can have a podcast that is strictly audio, where you're just talking, and there's no video or what have you. And then you can also do your video, like a vlog or something. So either way, you've got a lot of options in terms of how you want to structure your podcast. But as you begin to step into that and begin to launch in that area, I've got a few things that I want to mention to you that will help give you just kind of help frame your mind, help organize your thoughts. If you're anything like me, I'm a great visionary. I'm constantly coming up with ideas and, just a very innovative person. But sometimes I get into this fog where I know what to do, but I don't really know how to do it. And so it's very helpful for me to organize my thoughts. So I'm going to show you how to organize your thoughts surrounding the development of your new podcast. I'm going to give you some pointers, give you some things to think about, and I'm going to link a form if you're interested in me helping to develop your podcast. I've been podcasting for a couple of years now, and I've got two. One is stronger than the other. The other, not so much. I may have maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and I'll be honest, y'all, I just forget that I forgot that I had it. But my other podcast, Sateri Prophetic Ministries, is geared toward a more Christian believing audience. And I cover all types of biblical topics, relationship skills as it relates to the Bible. And I have a tremendous following. I've got great ratings on it, and it's published on like so many platforms I can't even keep up. So I want to use some of my experience to kind of help you get launched in your podcast. I'm not the expert in the field. However, I've got something that I can use to help you get yours. Okay. All right. So a couple of things that you want to be mindful of. First of all, set your goals, your program goals for your podcast. In other words, what is your goal? Why are you podcasting? Are you raising awareness? Are you into looking to network? Are you looking to be educational and do some have some informative conversations? Are you going to bring in some guests? If that's the case, who are you going to bring in? Have you had those conversations with them? Will there be a fee involved? And so I know I'm just going to like drill you with a lot of questions, and it's only to get those gears in your mind working so that you can begin to structure them and put them on paper. And I move and talk really, really fast. I've been in education for a long time. And so I'm used to condensing a lot of information in a short period of time. So I encourage you to go back to the video and just replay, pause, and, do what you need to do to make sure you capture these very important points that I'm going to be sharing with you. So make sure that you set your primary goals. Are you bringing awareness? Is it educational? Is it entertainment? Is it informational? Okay. What about maybe brand awareness, or for authors, you want to bring an awareness to your book. And so you may want to capture your audience surrounding themes that are related or directly connected to your book. This is very important to think about, you guys. Who is your target audience? For one of my podcasts, Sateri Prophetic Ministries, it is geared toward Christians and leaders. So my content is geared toward that particular audience. And so you want to make sure you stay loyal to your audience, because if your goal is your book and you're talking about politics, you're going to lose some people, or you're going to you're going to have some folks confused about what you're doing, why are we here. So make sure you identify your target audience, the demographics, age groups, or the type of industry. Like for me, I'm talking to authors. In my other podcast, I'm talking to believers and church leaders. So identify your industry, begin to fine tune your target audience, and then work from there. And then think about what is your overall message. Like for this particular vlog, my overall message is to be informative, is to provide some educational content that you can use as a prospective or budding podcaster to get going. Also, as a business person, I'm hoping to win your business, right? So whether or not you decide to go with me to get me to help you get started or not, I just want to see you win. So my message and the value that I bring to this podcast is to inform people and help them to evolve and advance to the next level. All right, let's talk about branding. Do you have a name in mind for your podcast? Take some time to develop the name, because once you get it inked out, you don't want to go back and change it. You want to be consistent with it, and you're going to be stuck with it. Okay. So put some time into developing the name of your podcast. Make sure it's trendy and make sure it speaks to your demographics, to your audience, and that it also captures the value of the work that you're putting out to your people. What is the tone and the style of your podcast? For this one here, it is professional, humorous, because that's just who I am, professional, empathic, because I'm an educator and I'm a pastor. So I bring all of those unique personalities to my audience. So think about what you're going to bring to your audience. Are you casual? Will it be professional, humorous, or very serious? Think about the tones that you say. And it's okay if, depending on the topic, you kind of blend roles. It's all right, but you should have a consistent theme and style and tone for your podcast. What about your logo? What about your graphics? Do you have a logo in mind? What would that look like? Will it have a Bible? Will it have a sword? Will it have a woman, a man? Think about some of those concepts. Think about some of the colors that you want to use and incorporate in your logo. What about a tagline? Think about that, just that little short phrase that it introduces or it captures and brings your audience into your goal. So think about that, right? Your logos, your color schemes, and your tagline. Do you need assistance with branding your podcast? That's some, folks are like, hey, I've got the gift of gab. I can talk to anybody, but all that technical stuff and graphic stuff, that's just not me. That's okay. You need to know that you don't know that, right? And so that way you can begin to search out and seek out and begin to interview candidates that can help you with that. Your logo design, do you want intro music? Do you want outro music? What do you want that to sound like? Now, for my Soteria podcast, I don't have any intro and out. I started it, and then one of my listeners was like, that's distracting, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to have that. But my content is engaging enough to where I don't need all of that for that particular podcast. Now, if I decide to do another podcast, depending on the tone of it, I may enhance or incorporate music, intro and outro, or you may have an intro with a speaker. I have on one of my podcasts, I have a speaker who introduced, hey, this is so and so and so, get ready, so and so. And then they have the outro. Thank you for listening. Next time, tune in, or what have you. So your intro, outro doesn't have to be musical. It can be just, a voiceover. And you can choose. I can help you with that. You can choose your voiceover that you want. The words that you want to say, visit the website, give, donate, tell a friend. You control that podcast. Okay. You control the theme of the podcast. In terms of theme and content, what is the main theme or the main topic? Will it consist of talking about your book? Like for these series that I do, the author's journey. So I'm always giving information to authors, podcasters, content creators. So that's kind of my main theme. Whenever you hear from me on this platform, I'm going to be talking about helping you develop that creativity that's on the inside of you. Okay. So you want to be consistent with your theme and consistent with the topic. What about any subtopics or themes? Now, the gist of the author's journey is to encourage authors, empower authors, partner with authors. But there's so many subtopics under that, right? There is, the advertising piece, the marketing piece. So under your main theme, you're going to have as many subtopics as you need, but make sure that they're all connected. Like you're not going to log on to the author's journey and find me talking about buying a car, right? It just would not connect. So any subtopic, whether I'm talking about children's books, whether I'm talking about how to do your events or what have you, they're all going to be connected to that main theme. So you can deviate from it, just make sure it's all connected. So think about some of the subtopics, make sure you think about some of the themes that you plan to cover, think about the different times of year, think about some of the cultures that may be evident in your audience, and think about that, designing some conversations and discussions around that. I mentioned earlier about any guests that you may have in mind. Who would you want to invite on my podcast? It's just me talking, again, because I'm engaging and I'm a public speaker and I've been doing this for years. However, I'm launching another podcast tomorrow night, right? And on this particular podcast for my nonprofit, Barbara's Lighthouse, I will have a guest. And so those guests are going to speak to the themes and the subtopics that are designed for that. I may show you guys how the behind the scenes a little bit later. So think about some of the guests that you want to have to be a part of your podcast. You want to make sure that they understand your vision so that they don't go off on the rail, because if you're live, you can't stop a moving train. If it's pre-recorded, then yeah, you can edit it and kind of splice out some nonsense or some conversations that you didn't really want your audience to hear. So think about that. Live audience, live recording, pre-recorded. Okay. So think about your guests. These are folks that you're bringing into a platform that you've built. This is your name. This is your reputation. What are you going to do with it, right? Making sure they understand. Do you need to get a contract? Do you need to have a meeting with them before? What does that look like? Make sure you share out with them what your expectations are. Make sure they agree to it, and then roll out, what it looks like. Maybe do a pre-meeting and just kind of roll and do like a run of the show to see how things will go when you go live or when you record it. How do you plan to structure your podcast? Interviews, or for me, solo commentary on some of them, panel discussions. Again, you can be as creative as you want. You can say, well, you know what? I want to incorporate all three. Some topics I'm going to talk about. Other topics I'll do a panel discussion. Other topics I'll do an interview. It's your broadcast. I'm just giving you some food for thought, giving you some kibbles and bits, right? Something that you can work with and kind of get you chomping on some good old ideas. All right. So we talked about branding. We talked about theme and content. Let's talk about your platform. Which platform do you plan to use? Are you going to Facebook it? Are you going to Instagram it? Are you going to TikTok it? Are you going to YouTube it? For me, I use Podbean, which I've been using for years. There's like so many podcast platforms, so don't get locked in. But choose one. And the good thing about it is if you do have multiple platforms that you're connected to, you can always download or share your broadcast, which is what I do. There's options depending on which platform you use. There are options where you can share that broadcast to your Facebook page, to your YouTube, or to Apple, or whichever platform you want to use, you can share it out. And you'd be amazed. Like one for Podbean, which is what I use, I'm connected to up to 20 different platforms at the click of a button. The minute I upload my recording and do my little editing and do my little blurb or what have you, and click submit, it instantly distributes it to all of my 20 different platforms. So I'm reaching so many people. Like I'm reaching people overseas, and I'm like, I didn't even know they speak English because I can't speak their language. But anywho, so think about the platforms, that's your main platform, and then you can share from there. All right. Do you need assistance? I can help you if you need assistance or recommendations. Again, I can only give you what I know and what I've experienced. But if you want me to explore some things, I'll do that for you. We'll do it together. Just book a consultation and we'll run through it together. Okay. So that's if you need help setting up the account, setting up your platforms, we can help you do that. Also, do you want a landing page for your podcast or a website for your podcast? On my particular podcast, the way I designed it, I don't need a separate website because I have everything housed on that platform. You may want to do something different, and that's totally up to you. Okay. Frequency and schedule. How often do you plan to broadcast? Are you going to broadcast weekly, daily, monthly? Like, what is that going to look like? And so that way you know how to develop your content, develop your material, and how to schedule your guests if you're going to have any. So think about that: weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, what have you. Put that thought to paper in terms of how you're going to structure your episodes. What will the length be of your episodes? Are you going to do 30-minute episodes, 1 hour? I don't really recommend anything over an hour. And I'll be honest with you, if you're just starting out, I would strongly recommend 30 minutes because you don't want to get into a 1 hour episode and you're trying to find things to say and you're just spinning in circles like you're buffering. So I would suggest if you're just starting, do a 30-minute episode. And you can, and if you, when you find that you kind of developing your rhythm, you can always either increase the time from 30 minutes to an hour or increase the frequency. So you can do a Monday night 30 minutes, Wednesday night 30 minutes, Friday morning 30 minutes, or what have you. If you find that you've got, like, okay, that 30 minutes went by fast, I've got a lot more to say, then just tweak it as you need it, but start small, right? What about your launch date? How much time are you giving yourself to get started? Some people say, well, I want to have this launch by my birthday. Or I want to have it launch at the beginning of the year or by next quarter, what have you. Again, you set that time, but just be mindful that as you set that time, you got to work toward that because your graphics, your flyers, your notices or what have you going to go out. It's going to have that launch date. And people are going to go to your platform and subscribe and get ready to hear all the great things that you have to say. You need to make sure that you start when you say you're going to start. Okay. So put some time, consider some strong thought and consideration and deliberation into when you want to start on your launch date and get people excited talking about it. Technical requirements. Now, this is important because you want your podcast to be of, have great quality, good audio quality or what have you. Some of these new phones, like for me, now I've got tons of equipment, y'all, like everywhere. I inherited that from my dad. I'm like Inspector Gadget. Any new piece of equipment that comes out, I got it. But I like simplicity also. So for me, I record on my iPhone. I use the recording app. I record it, upload it, and I'm done. So I love simplicity. However, I've got the microphones, I've got the lights, I've got all of that good stuff. So make sure that you have some good quality sound equipment because you want your voice to be crisp and clear. You don't want your guests to try to figure out what you're saying or what have you. Make sure the room that you're in, you need to decide where you're going to podcast. Are you going to podcast in an office or in a room? Is it soundproof? Do you have your pets out of the way, or your kids or your friends? Making sure that that space is conducive for this recording that you're gonna begin doing. So you may want to set aside space in your home or in your office. Sometimes folks do it in the car. I mean, hey, it is what it is, right? But just make sure that you establish a space for you to do your recordings. If you need some suggestions or recommendations for purchasing studio equipment, I can help you with that. But again, if you're just starting low budget, use your phone if you got a good quality phone and then test it, right? Upload it and then you listen to it, send it to a few trusted friends that will tell you the truth. You can send it to me too, I'll tell you. And then, that way you can determine whether you need to invest in some, sound equipment or if what you're using is okay. And listen, as you get started and as funds coming, if your platform is monetized, you can always invest and expand, but just getting started, you don't necessarily need all of that, depending on, what your goal is. You may, I don't know. Marketing and promotion is going to be very important, very, very, very important. You want your logo, you want everything in the same color. If you got, some type of seal or what have you, you want to make sure if you're going to be pictured on your flyers or your marketing promotional material, can't get it out. Just make sure everything looks good, right? Everything's clean, good. If you're going to have a full body shot or a head shot or what have you, just making sure everything looks good. All right. So you're going to use social media, are you going to use email newsletters, or you can do collaborations? Like, think about how you're going to drive people to your podcast, to your platform. If you need assistance with that, I will be happy to help you with that. What about your existing audience? Who do you have now that you can leverage in terms of a follower base for your podcast? Not everyone on your social media may follow you over because based upon what your target audience is or what your theme is, not everybody's interested in writing a book, right? So just think about, even though you may have a large following on your social media, if your theme is not geared towards something that they're interested in, they may not want to follow you over. They may say, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, I'm so proud of you, right? But they may not be some of your loyal listeners. So think about how you can leverage your current followers, your current social media networks to help build your platform, your podcast platform. So here's another thing that you want to be mindful of: scripting for your episodes. for me, again, I'm a pastor and I'm an educator. Stuff is just sits on my dome, right? But there are times when I script out what I want to say because I'll go down rabbit trails and then I have to find my way to get back. But so there are times where you want to script out your podcast. For example, let's say we're talking about um, students wearing uniforms to school, right? So you may want to incorporate some research, you may want to incorporate some data, you may want to look at behavior trends, academic trends, you may want to look at some cost factors for families. You want to look at, you know what I'm saying? So that you may want to script out so that when you're speaking, you can speak from an evidence-based or from a research-based perspective, and it's not just you with your wonderful ideas. So think about if your podcast is one that is more scientific, research, evidence, you know what I'm saying, more informational, then you may want to script your podcast out so that you can give references or, you know what I'm saying, you can sound more credible because you're using some factual information. And so if you need help with that, I can help you script your podcast. I'll send you a form and you tell me what are the themes, what are your goals, what are what are you talking about? And I'll help you develop that script for you. And you don't have to stick to it, but it will provide a very sound format and guidelines so that you can stick to where you want to go and not deviate and kind of leave your folks hanging. You can also transcribe your podcast. Some of you may want to, you may have an awesome podcast, like the conversation went really, really well, and you may want to turn it into an ebook or a blog. You want to put that blog on your website. I